Hi, welcome back. Today, I want to share with you a personal example of how the law of assumption has played out in my life before I knew about the law of assumption. Because the fact is, this is happening whether we know about it or not. We are creating our realities. And I also want to share why it's super important to write down what it is that you want. So stick around. My name is Hedley Derenzie. I am a qualified life coach, adult educator, and author. And I'm also super passionate about the amazing teachings of the law of assumption as originally taught by the wonderful Neville. It is the stories that create our life. So if you want to change your life, you have to change the story. And if you want to create the most amazing life for yourself, then you need to know how to tell the most amazing stories. And that is why I'm here. I am passionate about storytelling and telling amazing stories for myself, but also for helping you to do the same. If you would like further support with that, you don't need it. But if you would like it, I am available for one-on-one coaching and also email coaching. My details are in the little box below. You can also stay connected with me on Instagram through my Hedley Derenzie page, and also remember You Are the One page. So you can find that down below as well. I think that's it. Let's get started. Okay, so I want to share with you a personal example of how the law of assumption really does work and how powerful this is before I even knew about the law of assumption. So this is an experience that happened before I knew about the law of assumption, but it's the perfect example of how these teachings really do work, whether we are aware of it or not. So we are always creating our realities using our imagination, whether we know it or not. This is how reality works. Consciousness creates reality, and reality reflects back our consciousness. Whether we know it or not, it's happening. So back in 2012, I wrote a book. The book was called Finding Paris. It was actually written under my old name, and that's a whole other story, but I self-published, and then my publishers picked it up and they republished it. So this was the new cover, but it was originally published in 2013 under a different cover. The story is about a relationship breakdown, and I'm all heartbroken. So I buy a ticket to Paris, thinking that that's going to be the best place for me to get over my heartbreak and hopefully meet somebody new and fall in love. It was sort of such a comedy of errors that I thought this story would make a fun book. So I ended up writing about my experience. The book took 6 months to write, and then another 6 months to edit, and then get self-published. And I guess the premise of the book is how I had realized that I had a pattern, and I was attracting a certain type of man. And that man was CEO, coming out of a marriage, children of a certain age, and sort of emotionally unavailable, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, I wrote this book, I self-published, and an article got written in one of the major newspapers here in Australia, and that made it to the front page of the online publication, and then that story went viral. So all of a sudden, I'm sort of caught up in this media storm about my story and the topics that I cover. What nobody knows about that time in my life where I was going through this media thing with this book is that behind the scenes, the same story was playing out again with a different person. So I was involved with another man who was a CEO, was coming out of a marriage, had kids, was emotionally available. So the person that I had written about in this book, so the story that I had written in Finding Paris that I was out doing all this media attention with, behind the scenes in my life, the same story was playing out again, and I was keeping it secret. So no one actually knew this. And when I look back on this, I didn't yet know at that point, I didn't correlate the two. I wasn't able to see the similarities at that point of what was going on. That would come later. So that was sort of playing out again. And like all the other stories, the same story played out, and this person ended up cheating on, or not cheating, or they just had somebody else, and they went and married that person. And it was just the same story again. Following Finding Paris, I wrote a follow-up book to that, and it was meant to be called After Paris. And I wrote this book. And what happened during the writing of After Paris was every character or person that I talked about in that book would manifest into my life within 24 or 48 hours. These were people I hadn't seen in 8 to 10 years or longer, like a really long time. And it didn't just happen once, it didn't just happen twice, didn't even happen 3 times. It just kept happening with every chapter. Any person that I wrote about from my past would like magically appear in my reality. And there was one example where I was meeting a friend one night for a drink, and I had just finished writing a chapter about this guy that I used to have a crush on in my early 20s, and I hadn't seen him in, a good 10 years. And the scene was, I was reflecting on the time where he was standing at the bar, and we met up and we had a conversation and, whatever. So anyway, I said to my friend, I'll meet you at this particular bar. So I'd finished writing that chapter, and then I went to meet my friend. That guy was standing at the bar where I was supposed to meet my friend who wasn't there yet. He was standing at the bar when I arrived, and literally the scene I had just written that afternoon about the time I had seen him 10 years earlier played out again. Like, it was nuts. It was crazy. Like, and this was happening throughout the entire writing of this book, and it happened so many times. It freaked me out so much that I actually stopped writing the book. The book never got published. It did get finished. I finished writing it eventually. It never got published. It's never seen the light of day because I was so freaked out by what was happening that it felt like I just had this power that I didn't understand. I didn't know. And it felt like I was wielding it in a way that wasn't serving me because, these were people from my past. These were situations from my past. They weren't necessarily situations that I wanted to be repeating or bringing back into my reality. And yet it kept happening. Every time I wrote a chapter, it would then manifest into my life. And I'm like, whoa, I don't want to be like repeating these situations. I stopped writing it and I was like, I don't know what the hell is going on here, but this book is not going to see the light of day because I don't know what the hell's going on and I don't understand it. And it took me until I came into contact with the law of assumption, I really didn't understand what was going on. And now I do. And that is that the law of assumption was in play in my life, and it has been in play throughout my entire writing career, because I have been writing about my love life and the patterns, not knowing that that's what is keeping me in the pattern because I keep writing about it. And a book is a very involved process. And so I wanted to sort of share this experience with you because what I now realize is that what we invest our attention and energy and imagination into is what creates our reality. And I had no idea at that time that by me writing these books, I was literally recreating the stories every single time, from finding Paris to then recreating this new relationship with this guy that I was seeing behind the scenes as I'm going through this media thing, to then writing After Paris and then having all of those people in my life show up literally within 24, 48 hours after writing that chapter. I did not understand the full potential of the power that I have, that you have, that we all have. And I didn't understand it, so I stopped. But this is essentially the power we have. And this is the power of writing things that we want down and writing out the scenes that we want to experience in our reality as if we were writing a book, as if we were writing a movie. We have such infinite power, and it is at work whether you are aware of this or not. You are creating your realities every single moment using your whatever is in your consciousness, which is basically the stories that are running in the subconscious. So we want to learn about these teachings as best we can so that we can start to use this power wisely, because just as I said, it's in play whether we know about it or not. And now I can guarantee that I will never ever ever write another book like I have in the past. The only books that I will write from here on are the ones where I am getting everything that I want and my life is working out exactly as I would want it to work out. My experiences as a writer have proven to me that these teachings are real, they are true, this is how life works, and this is the power of writing things down. So I just wanted to share that example with you just to remind you You are more powerful than you probably know. That power is in play whether you know about it or not. So if you want to really create an amazing life for yourself, I really highly recommend learning about these teachings and starting to use your imagination and engaging your consciousness in a way in which you end up getting everything that you want, and you're directing your thoughts and your beliefs and your stories towards what it is that you want to experience rather than what you don't want to experience. Because trust me, having written a number of books about all the shitty relationship failures and then repeating those over and over and over, like, you will get what you focus on. So just focus on what it is that you want, write it down, create the scene, envision it, get into the experience of it, and then just hold your focus on it, regardless of what the 3D reality is showing to you, because eventually it has to catch up with you, and it will. So that's all I wanted to share with you. I hope you found this interesting, perhaps useful. If you did, please feel free to share it with family and friends, maybe subscribe to my channel, get in touch if you'd like further support, and I will see you next time. Thanks. Bye.